from us. And I want you, we can bring it on the floor. Never danced like this before. We don't talk about it.
And we are back, and today we are launching a new series along the others that I am launching on my channel. Today we are looking actually at a concept for the competitive encyclopedia. Pokemon in the competitive sphere has a lot of weird terminology that gets tossed around, and so I think it's really important that a lot of new players could maybe look and try to learn exactly what more experienced players mean when they say, "Oh, my win con was blank blank blank," or "that game was solely hacks," or like anything like that. So just little these are probably sometimes going to be longer videos, sometimes going to be shorter videos. I don't think there's much to talk about when it gets to hacks, but I think something like team matchup or like today's video, momentum, are kind of more intricate, more subtle concepts that require a little more time to explain properly, in my opinion. All right, so let's get into it. Momentum is, a lot of players assume that momentum is who's winning the game. This is true and also not true. Okay, who is winning the game can affect momentum. Momentum is essentially a sliding scale. On any one turn, momentum is the result of momentum is the current situation based on the two Pokemon on the field right now, what their sets are, and what the opponents assume their sets are if they haven't been revealed yet, and then also the result of what happened previously, the previous turns, generally. That all sums up into what momentum is at any one given moment in the game. All right, so let's get started here. So I've got a pretty quick game, like 13, 14 turns before I got my opponent to forfeit. So yeah, let's get started. All right. So he led with I'm not gonna get into team matchup much, but I led with my I'm on the other side, which is kind of annoying. But I led with Landers and he led with Tyranitar. I did assume this was a Scarf Tyranitar, but I also knew that my Earthquake didn't have an 100% chance to kill it, and I also realized that he probably has Ice Beam, and my Landers is super valuable against his team and can really grab momentum every time it switches in. So I decided to go for a U-turn and switch on out because I expected an Ice Beam. So I switched into Hoopa, who is this is an Assault Vest Hoopa with full special defense investment, so it can totally eat this hit up. I knew it, and so it was good. That was a good turn by me, and I shifted momentum into my favorite rest off the start of the game. Momentum being my favorite as soon as Landorus and Tyranitar hit the field together, and then as I switched out into Hoopa. However, I misread that this Pokemon was a Scarf Pokemon, and it turns out it was not. So momentum shifted back a little bit towards my opponent. So moves such as Volt Switch and U-Turn allow you to switch out into a threat that can threaten your opponent's Pokemon. And so that means that momentum is always shifting back, and those are called momentum grabbing moves, because you can switch into a more efficient type matchup against your opponent. More efficient just sweeper roll, something like that. You can just switch into something that will better handle what your opponent has on the field. That's why those are momentum grabbing moves. They shift pressure towards the opponent. Alright, so if we continue, I was expecting him to want to switch out, but it turned out I had misread, and this was not a Scarf, as I quickly found out, and it was leftovers. But I did expect him to want to switch out, because I expected him, I guess my opponent wasn't experienced or what, I don't know, but I expected him to know that I would have a fighting type move, and I thought he would switch out into a Azumarill or Rotom Wash, who are better counters to my Pokemon here. So I went for knockoff just to try to neuter those, but unfortunately it did not work out for me. He hit a Smooth of Stone Edge, which did a bulky chunk of damage, but I did end up being able to hit him with a Drain Punch that turn, knowing I was going to outspeed, and got a decent amount of my health back. So now, with the death of any Pokemon, momentum shifts over to the person who just lost a Pokemon. Maybe not completely, but a little bit nonetheless, because it's essentially the same thing as a U-turn or Volt Switch. This is why sometimes sacrificing a Pokemon to switch in a Pokemon with no damage is a valid strategy. It's because it shifts momentum towards you, because you are able to switch in a Pokemon for free, which will always shift momentum towards you. So he switches into Charizard, which I was not expecting, and he does go for a Fire Blast, actually, revealing he's Charizard Y, which I was not sure of, hence why I switched into my Landorus here. Fire Blast, unfortunately, does connect, and my Landorus goes down, which was very unfortunate for me, because Landorus was going to put in a whole ton of work, but I wasn't super worried about it. The game was still just starting, and I did have an option with Raikou to definitely beat this Charizard Y. So my opponent, I expect him, after him not switching on Tyranitar, I expected him to not switch out this either, so I was like, okay, maybe this guy just likes to leave his Pokemon in, and so I assumed he would leave his Charizard in. However, he does make the good switch here, makes a good switch, goes for Thunderbolt, momentum shifts back over towards my opponent. So this makes me, because of my poor play, and my opponent's good play, momentum shifted over towards him. This is something that's very key, and a good switch can lead to a shift in momentum as well. As you guys can see, hopefully, like, momentum isn't all about who's winning the game. Momentum is also about who is, because I don't think at this point it's not really clear who's winning the game. But at this point, momentum is definitely in my opponent's favor. Although he doesn't know that I don't have Shadow Ball, I guess he assumed it. Maybe that was poor because I don't actually have Shadow Ball. All I have is Hidden Power Ice. But I do decide to switch out with a Volt Switch here, which shifts momentum over towards me. And I am able to switch in my Saltless Hoopa, who does take this really well, but unfortunately the rolls are against me, and I am not able to take 2, so momentum shifts, and as Hoopa goes down, but momentum now shifts back over towards me, because I know that my Altaria can come in and potentially set up on such a weaker version of this Pokemon. So this is turn 7, I am going to set up actually right here, and once you set up, momentum shifts dramatically over into your favor 100% of the time. That's because the favor of the wind switches out into your favor, as long as you're setting up at the right moment. So right now, he's kind of really in a tough spot. My return can just go around bopping stuff. So as you guys can see, I'm going to go for a return, and this Azumarill is going to go down instantly. So the game is pretty much over right around here. Charizard Y cannot touch me with the Dragon. I was worried about Air Slash, but I realized Fire Blast will not get an OHKO on me, even under the Sun Boosted bar. And I was nervous about the burn, but I was really willing to risk it. So I did want to stay in. And as you can see, through the momentum staying on my side of the field throughout the entire game by me pulling switches all the time, which is why a lot of things like that, Volt Switch strategies, rely on shifting momentum constantly. I was able to grab momentum and effectively use it to find a setup opportunity for my team. This is probably the most vital role of momentum in the game, is to set up your opponent, to put yourself in a better situation to activate your win condition. That Will-O-Wisp miss did suck for my opponent, no doubt, but I did have answers to all of his Pokemon, and I wasn't too worried should that have failed. And that was the end of the battle, as he forfeited right after that, because he knew probably that he had lost. It was an unfortunate miss, but I did have answers to all of his Pokemon, so I wasn't too worried. Even if that was a Choice Scarf Terrakion, which can potentially kill any of my Pokemon with the proper coverage move, it would be stuck switching out every single time, and I would pressure it with the move that I had instead. So that was the video. Momentum, there's a couple other intricacies I want to get into. Momentum tends to be, if we look at Hyper Off, the momentum is the most important in gaining momentum on balanced teams, such as the one that I am using, and my opponent is also using. Balanced teams are really, he's actually using more of a bulky offense team, while I'm using probably a true balanced team, maybe a balanced, slightly more offensive team, but balanced teams appreciate, and bulkier teams appreciate momentum a lot more than either more defensively oriented teams or more offensively oriented teams, because they rely on a lot more switches and the bulk to take those hits, while also maintaining pressure through their attacks. For that reason, momentum is very important to them. Whereas on hyper offense teams, pretty much every Pokemon grabs momentum every time it switches in, which is the entire premise of that, is just literally endless momentum, as opposed to shifting the momentum from your opponent towards you constantly, if that makes any sense. And then Stall, at its heart, what people don't realize is Stall is a game of killing your opponent's momentum every single turn. That's literally how Stall functions, is just endlessly stopping momentum. It never really gains momentum of its own because it's a Stall team, and momentum is fundamentally based around offensive pressure, but Stall, kind of just the point of it is to just constantly kill your opponent's momentum, prevent them from setting up or getting really any good attacks in on you, and from there, cleaning house with just an endless game, which isn't really even cleaning house. Alright, well, I hope that was helpful, guys. Tell me what you think. I do think that because this is the first video of this series, the format was a little interesting. Tell me what you guys would like to see. Don't know what I'm going to be doing next week. There's a lot of concepts that I would definitely want to go over. But yeah, I didn't really think about my format a ton, because I was I really want to look at a replay and kind of comment on how the replay was headed, post, and look at where my mindset was, stuff like that. So I hope that was helpful, guys, and as always, Kraken Nation out.